Move on now
All
to the
right.
final team here, or the final two teams. We've got the Washington Commanders, and their schedule looks like this, including two primetime games, one against the Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football, and one in Philly on Monday Night Football. The return of Carson Wentz to Philadelphia in a Commanders uniform. Dylan, actually, AJ, I haven't started with you yet. AJ, I'll start with you. What is the storyline for the Washington Commanders heading into this season?
The storyline for the Washington Commanders. Is this Carson Wentz's last chance? I mean, he went from a potential Rookie of the Year candidate to a potential MVP candidate to not being good at all to being even worse than that, 4.2 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the worst team in the league with the playoffs on the line, and didn't get it done 2 weeks in a row. To now going with Riverboat Ron, who's known to get quarterbacks developed and improved. If he can't do it here in Washington, and I'm not saying win it all the first season or anything like that, but actually take a team that a lot of people don't have a lot of faith in right now and move them forward and give them any type of progress and hope for the next couple seasons. Is he a guy who becomes a career backup? Is he a clipboard holder going forward until someone gets hurt? You just have to roll with Wentz because that's all you have. I sit here and I kind of feel like it's coming to it. Like, if he can't get it done in the Commanders, he may be a backup going forward. This team had the opportunity to do a lot in the draft. I don't recall their cap space or anything of that, so I'm not sure if they missed the needle in free agency. But they didn't do a lot of favors to help Carson Wentz out, in my opinion. So now he's kind of in a worse situation, and everybody's expecting him to get better. And I just don't know if that's going to be plausible.
Wow. I mean, I think right there when you say that about Carson Wentz, right? Obviously, this is his last shot. I think that's a layup. I think there's no doubt about it. This is his last chance. He's had multiple chances. He came back from the ACL with Philly. They move on. He goes to Indianapolis. They move on. What are you talking about? Riverboat Ron changing him. If he can't get it done with Doug Peterson, if he can't get it done with Frank Reich in Indianapolis, what makes Riverboat Ron going to change him? This is a guy that's not mentally tough. He's not physically tough. He's not a tough quarterback. And in this league, in the NFL, you need to be tough. He doesn't possess any of those traits. And I know I'm burying my lead here, but I can't stand seeing that as a storyline because it's asinine. It's 100% accurate. This guy's done if he can't get it done this year. And there's a shot that, hey, maybe he's not even a backup. You see first-round picks that bust, just get out of the league. Blake Bortles out of the league. RG3 out of the league for a little while, had to work his way back to Baltimore. If you don't do it, if you can't do it, you're out of the league. And I know this guy had a solid year in 17, but other than that, I haven't seen anything from Carson Wentz. And you got to have it done right here. This is his last shot. Throw it all out there, and he has to do something. But this is absolutely his last shot. One bad year here, and it's over.
It's over as a starter. It's not.
His career could be over.
I don't see Carson Wentz not being a backup for somebody. I mean, you're looking at a guy who everyone just watched failed miserably, and he was still traded for. It wasn't a wait and see. They traded for him and believed in him to come in and be their starting guy. Now, granted, it was a franchise that hasn't had a quarterback in some years and didn't look to have one, even with Taylor Heineke. But I don't see him out of the league. I see him not being a starter anymore. Somebody will take Carson Wentz as a backup. I'm sorry, that's just a fact.
But there's a different that it goes back to what you're getting out of him, right? Like, obviously, a backup quarterback needs to do two things. One, can they help out your team? Two, can they be durable? His durability's not there. But you got to look at this. Like, how many first-round picks are backup quarterbacks? Most of them are third-round guys that, they can make the throw. They can do this. Those are your backup guys. The C.J. Beathard's, look across the league. A lot of them backup quarterbacks are not first-round busts that stick around. Geno Smith, a solid exception. But, I mean, there's a couple. Blaine Gabbert's doing it somehow. But, I mean, there's a few first-round picks that stick around, right? And I don't see him as being one of those guys.
Yeah, but so you're talking about what you would have to say to me that you don't think Carson Wentz can come in and spell somebody and win a game. Those aren't the conversations we were having about Carson Wentz. Yes, he had Jonathan Taylor last year. But we were talking about him missing the playoffs for 2 straight games. So if you're telling me he can't win a game, that's a different conversation. The fact is he can come in as an NFL quarterback and win games. He can't get it done when you need him to get it done in the brightest lights. That's his problem. So if you're getting in the playoffs and then your starter gets hurt and you're stuck with Carson Wentz, well, you're going to be sad about it, but he's going to go in. Out of the league is a little too far. Backup, more than likely. Even if he ends up being a third string, sure. And I still think that's far, but like Carson Wentz isn't going to be, sorry, we gave you 3 years on 3 different teams. It's time for you to go play in the CFL. That would be his ego that would make that happen.
I think the only thing that would push Carson Wentz out of the league is if he says, okay, I mentally can't take this anymore. And I don't like going into the mental health game of somebody. But that's the only way I see Carson Wentz getting out of it, being like, okay, it's just too much. That could very well happen because he's the amount of hate that he gets, I'm sure, is out there and could push him out if that's the case. But in terms of talent, he is still he could be a talented backup and a great backup for teams if that ends up being the idea here. We all have him at 6-11, 7-10, 6-11, 7-10. We're all kind of on the same page when it comes to the Washington Commanders here. They obviously did not do a whole lot in the offseason to get better. I do like the combination of Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. Yeah. I am a little concerned, though, if Terry McLaurin's a Washington Commander come next year. I had a feeling today that I was like, you know what? What if they did bring in Jahan Dotson to replace Terry, or to try and replace Terry McLaurin? They obviously have the franchise is a mess, as we see it in the comments right now, that they have all this off-field nonsense going on. Maybe Terry McLaurin's a good soldier, plays this season for Washington and says, I don't want to come back. And he doesn't come back. And Washington may be well aware of that, and that's why they went out and got Jahan Dotson. I could see that happening, and it would not surprise me if Jahan Dotson's the wide receiver 1 for a Sam Howell-led Washington Commanders in 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either, especially after the offseason we just saw with wide receivers moving and seeing the money that they could get to do it. I mean, it's wide open for these guys to want to go somewhere else when their present pasture isn't as green as the next location could be. And we don't have to. We didn't even talk about their biggest problem. They didn't do anything on that defense. Anything on the defense. And I agree with Aaron. Dan Snyder should have been gone forever ago.
Yeah. Agreed. And I do see Dante's comment in here saying we will franchise them. That may be, because that's how that's just how big of a mess Washington has been. You franchise Kirk Cousins so many times in a row. And I don't know if that's going to end up happening with Terry McLaurin, but I could see them being dumb enough to just let him go. That I could also see that. But that's for the offseason. The Commanders we do have in third place of this division.